Time to make a start on the T-A-05R speedrun car. Hey guys, welcome back to Tamiya Legends, and once again thank you for stopping by. So as I said, it's time to drag the T-A-05R off the shelf. A little bit of a story time first of all to tell you where this project is, because it got a little bit messy. So I bought this chassis to do some speedrun content. Now I bought it well before winter last year, so I knew it was just going to sit on the shelf. But the plan was to get the cosmetic side of it done, which, you know, get a body, wheels and tyres, and just have it ready that when the weather changes after winter, then I could start doing the content I wanted to do with it. So initially it came with a non-Tamiya touring car shell. And I want this to be everything Tamiya. So what I did have downstairs was this Honda NSX shell. Now I bought this years ago to fit on a TL-01, and what I ended up doing is, so it was brand new, I ended up marking the holes for the body posts, and I got both front and back in the wrong position. I'd already put the holes in. So then in my wisdom, I had some different shaped body posts for TL-01, so I fitted those to the chassis, and then I went to remount them thinking I can cover the first two holes up. I got those in the wrong position as well. Idiot. So I just ordered a new body for it and threw this one downstairs. I didn't throw it out, and I'm not sure why, because normally I do, but it just kind of shows you don't throw things out. You might be able to use them later. So this brings us to now. So what I did was I dug this shell out, put the mounting holes in it for this particular chassis. I got that right, but we've got 2 holes here, 2 holes here, and 2 on the back. But I do have a plan to cover those up, which we'll talk about later. So I fitted the body. I had these black wheels left over from the Porsche TT-01 project that I've been doing, so these were spare. So I put it together. I then the design for this was always going to be all in white with the standard polycarbonate sort of touring car wing. And I also had these mobile decals for it. Now if you know anything about the Honda NSX, the GT car with this livery in all in white looks superb. But I also found this plastic spoiler set which came with some window wipers and these mirrors. Now I fitted this to the car, and with the black wheels I was kind of looking at it and I was like, that looks pretty sexy if I'm honest. And then my idea of doing a GT sort of race car went away, and I was like, this needs to be a street car now. So looking at the black and how it sits, I was like, this car needs to be yellow. So I kind of got the colour in my head what I wanted. A nice Tamiya yellow backed in white, so it's really vibrant. Obviously with this black spoiler, the black mirrors. For the holes, I bought some of this carbon wrap. Never used this before. It's nice and thin, so it should cut well into the shapes I'm going to create for it. But the idea is, and I've not even looked at that yet, but the idea is that carbon wrap is going to cover these holes up in certain places. But I also think how good this looks, all yellow with the black and little bits of carbon on it. I think it could look pretty epic. So that's where I got to. Then I'm going to have to bring the camera over now and show you the problem I had with the wheels, because then I got into the hole. This is a 1/10 190mm shell. As I say, it's a TA-05R chassis. So I had massive problems getting the wheels to line up correctly. Now I don't mean wheelbases, I mean the width. So I'll have to show you close up what I mean. So as you can see, and I hope you agree, this thing's going to be a little bit of a looker. These mirrors work really well. I think right now, unpainted, that spoiler works well. It could be a tad high, but I won't know until all the paint's on the shell. But looks wise, I think it looks stunning. So the rear end worked fine. These are 26mm wheels, +2 offset, and as you can see in the arches, no problem at all. The fronts, however, exactly the same setup, and this is using standard hexes, wheel adapters. But as you can see, the wheel is almost flush with the body, which means when you push down on the suspension, the body shell hits the tyre. So absolutely useless for what I'm planning to do. So at the time, I'd already bought this wheel set, and this came with these Tamiya Super Slicks with foams. So I bought that as a package. Now, went to try these wheels on. These are even worse because these are two-piece. These definitely couldn't go. So they ended up going on a different car. I then bought a pair of spoked wheels, which again were 26mm. Now I'd looked at I'd not looked at the insides of these, but I thought these look really nice. But because of the fins inside, they actually touch on the hubs, especially on the front when the steering's working. So on full lock either way, these wheels don't turn. So I was just like, this is getting worse. So then a good friend of mine on the forum, James, I was speaking to him online, and he says you need different offsets. You're happy with the rears, but the fronts need to go inwards. So he was telling me that there's two sizes of wheel. Standards are 26mm, but you can get 24mm wheels, of which the 26mm tyres will fit on. So what I did was I ordered these sets of wheels. Now, as I say, these are 24mm, but more importantly, these are zero offset, which means I get the tyre goes inwards on the front about, 2mm, which should sort the front end out. But obviously, let me just get this hex. Obviously, that's going to put the rears further in. So I looked through my little box of tricks and I found some wide alloy hexes, or wider. I'm not sure how much wider they are, probably about 2mm. So I was thinking, well, if I put that on the back, that should bring this back out enough. So I'll swap these wheels over now and show you what it looks like. So just to give you an idea of the difference in the alloy hex adapters for the rear, the blue is a standard one which came with this car, and it's pretty much your standard width. And as you can see, I had these wider ones. Now luckily the axles were long enough with the particular wheels so that the nut goes on and grips, because sometimes you also get the added issue of the nut going on and you have to get some smaller width nuts and stuff. But anyway, I got away with that. So as I say, let's get the wheels on this car. Right, so that was the rear basically sorted out. So bearing in mind we've got the thicker alloy hexes, we're on zero offset wheel, and we're also on 24mm wheel. It's not quite as good as the black ones for filling the rear arches, but they're okay. And the main thing is obviously I get the suspension travel, which is not impeded at all with the body shell. And then we have the fronts, which has got the standard hex on, but again, zero offset wheels on 24mm. But the tyres are 26mm, guys, which fit fine. But obviously it's a speed run car, these are going to have to be glued as well, which will help. But as you can see, they look great within the arch, and more importantly, it's got the suspension travel that's needed. So after all that messing around and extra cost and things, I finally got matching wheels, tyres and a shell that will work. Now, just for you speed run guys out there, I fully understand that these are not the best wheels and tyres for high speed, but this is going to be a very slow process with the content I'm making. I'm planning to use this car just to do some basic motor tests, 540, sports tunes, BZs, RZs, that kind of thing. So we're not going to have massive speed. So once these tyres are glued, they're going to last me a while before I have to upgrade to maybe foams or something like that. Anyway, as you can see, for me, the white wheels don't work, even though it's not painted. I just think with the black spoiler mirrors, yellow paint job, white wheels, I just don't think it's not going to work. So the plan is to paint these wheels, which is a bit extra work. And once they're black, I've got some nice little decals to go on there as well, or I'm going to try put some nice little decals maybe on one of the spokes, maybe two of the spokes. We'll put some new tyre decals on as well. So as I say, this is just the cosmetic side of it. So the car's good to go now. This spoiler it's only, and the mirrors are only stuck on with tape at the moment. The mirrors I'll probably end up gluing on at some point when the body's finished. But the next stage now is to mark the holes for this wing. I think it looks pretty cool, this wing. I think it's something a little bit different. So I'm going to mark those holes, and then what we can do is take the wing mirrors off and get this in some hot soapy water and get it cleaned, because it's covered in dust. It'll have my grubby fingerprints all over it. And then we've got the window masks to put in, and then we can start painting it. So finally, let's get cracking on this. So I was just thinking, you guys might not have seen the initial video I did on this car. So as I said, this is a Tamiya TA-05R, and it's quite a looking thing, to be honest. It's very blingy. So when they made the R, this particular one came with TRF shocks, blue turnbuckles, lots of other upgrades. But this is quite a tricky one. This has had other stuff added to it. So this has got the TRF front and rear alloy bulkheads, the centre mount, and I believe carbon front and rear shock towers. It's also got a front one-way diff on this car, which might not be ideal when I start getting to the higher speeds. But it's a bonny looking thing, isn't it? So just a little close-up on the body. These two mounts are the correct ones. These two holes are bodges, and those two holes are bodges. So they need to be covered up, and that's where I'm going to be using the carbon wrap somehow. Don't know how I'm going to do that yet. The rear, which one's it? I think the two ones at the back are the correct ones, and again I need to colour those up with carbon wrap. So yeah, happy days. Right, so shell washed in hot soapy water, left to dry. Window masks are now in, and little bits of masking to bung up the 200 holes within this shell. But the mass, whoa, that's lifted. I was just going to say the mass went on really well, but that's lifted. I think these have got a bit of dampness in them, which is a bit of a concern. What I'll do is I'll go back in and just put some Tamiya masking tape across it, which should hold that down. But you get the idea. I'm getting to that stage where I'm getting a little bit of excitement about getting some paint on this, because I know what the shell's like. It is a lovely shell, but I'm just hoping I can get the right sort of colour yellow. Don't want it too bright and I don't want it too dark, so I'm thinking possibly not back it with white. See what the yellow is first, and then if it's too bright, back it in a darker colour maybe. But anyway, let's go get some paint on this thing. Okay, that's the shell painted. Still got the protective film on, although I have taken the masks off the inside of the windows. I had a little bleed here, which I've got rid of. But yeah, all in all, the windows are pretty good. But as I say, I am planning to put some detail on this, and doing the black lines around the windows is a big part of this. Yeah, I don't know about colour. I haven't backed it, obviously, but it seems the colour I want, if I'm honest. If I go white, it's going to be brighter than I want it, and if I go black, it's probably going to be too dark. So I'm not sure. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to let it harden, and then I'll whiz the protective film off. I'll get the rear spoiler mounted, and I'll probably glue the mirrors on, because that's the base of the car, and then when the wheels are dry, which is going to be a while yet, then I can start to sort of plan. Also I'll put the light decals on, just to start giving it that little bit of sort of depth, and then I can start figuring out what I'm actually going to do with all the detail side of it. So spoilers on, mirrors are glued on. The mirrors are not the best. They're kind of glued in the bottom corners, on the underneath and the side, because obviously the shell's to turn slightly. But I think it's a nice detail. I just like it. I think they're quite nice. Wings down now, that's just 4 little screws. Again, this is adjustable, but the back of the mounts on the shell are going slightly downwards, So that's full tilt. Now if I want to increase that slightly, give it more down angle, I could just put a spacer underneath there, but I don't think it needs it. So yeah, I'm fairly happy with that at the moment. Well, as I saw, what I'm going to do next is I'll just add the little few decals I have, and then I'm going to leave it overnight for the paint to fully harden, and then I can obviously have a think about, because we're waiting for the wheels to dry as well, then I can have a think about what I'm going to do with this carbon wrap. Obviously it's those 4 holes there. Now it should be quite easy just to put some carbon wrap in these right up to there, so there's like 2 pieces. The rear should be even easier. It should just be a piece round here, and then if I want to add any more, which obviously I will want to, so I was thinking possibly down in this section, but that might look a bit pants. But what might look cool is this section here to go over that in carbon wrap. But as I say, let's stick those decals on, because it's going to be kind of a step-by-step process. Right guys, so I've just come back to it. Those wheels are looking pretty cool, but the paint I've used, it's still tacky, so I've got to do the other sides of them yet, but they look great. So I was just putting a few of the decals on, as I said. There's just those lights, that's all for the front, and the rear was just that light. So nothing spectacular, but then I thought I need to figure out this window, how I'm going to do this, because I was going to use marker pen. But then I remembered ages ago I bought this stuff, this tape. It's model striping tape. Never tried it before, and oh my god, it is awesome. And it's relatively easy as well. Now I know this line's not 100% perfect, but this is only my first attempt at it. But oh my god, look how good it looks. Obviously imagine when everything else is done, and with it I could even put some body lines on if needs be. So I'm really happy with that, guys. So I'll crack on now with that, and I'll come back when I've got that, and then we can have a look at the carbon. Right, so I've had a good play with this, and I've really enjoyed doing it. As I say, this is all kind of experimental for me. The point was to save a shell that was battered, and also to have a play with this carbon wrap, which I've done. What else? And obviously the pinstripes. So I'm really happy with the pinstripes. That's turned out great, to be honest. I found it really easy to do. Obviously when I do it next time on whatever car, I'll take a bit more time, because this was just to see, but it is pretty straightforward. I like it. I put some carbon, I like this carbon here, that's just covering the 2 holes up. I put some grills on the front. I probably need to redo these carbon, because they're not great. And just because I was playing, I just put that bit of carbon on the front, but I'll probably pull that off at a later date. I need to redo that again, just so it's blacker. And I did the same on the back, just did a bit of that detail. So that's pretty much it for the shell, I think. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with it. The wheels are just about dry. They've come up a treat. Done obviously both sides. Now it's detail time for these. So we've obviously got some Michelin tyre decals. So I'm going to put those on, because that'll really liven this wheel up. And then I found just some little white decals. I've no idea which car they came off, but I'm going to just put a white decal on 2 spokes, and I think that with the tyre writing will bring those wheels alive. I've also found for the rear spoiler, for the actual edges of it, I've just found these little white Bridgestones, so I'm going to put them one on either side, and down the middle centre of the spoiler I've just got this white Tamiya what do you call it, website address, sorry. So I think just because it's white, it'll bring the spoiler alive. And then last thing I've just found is this like window wiper set. No idea what it's off. I'm just going to trim this line and then I'll fit it and see if it is going to fit on the car. It does look a little bit different, but I might be able to make it fit, and it'll just give it a bit more detail. And then I think I'll call it a day at that, to be honest. As a service, has kind of served its purpose. It looks okay, it's not awesome. But anyway, let's get these last details on and then we can build it up and see what the car actually looks like. Right, so that's that windscreen wiper decal on, and I think it looks better with it on than not having one at all. I did have to trim it because it's obviously not for this car, but yeah, I think it looks okay. I've also done the rear spoiler. As I say, I've just put a little Bridgestone one on the side and then the Tamiya web address just to break that spoiler up, give it a bit of colour to it. So I'm gonna, as I say, I'm gonna call the shell done at that, and just now I'll get the tyre decals cut out. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. So I'll get the tyre decals on now, and that should hopefully finish it off. That's the tyre decals on. As I say, I'm going to put some spoke ones on now. These are pretty pointless unless if you're going to run your car. If you've never used them, especially on like soft rubber like that, they'll come off instantly. It really is a waste of my time putting them on now, but the whole purpose of it is just for looks right now. But as I say, as soon as this does its first run, they'll come off. But I think it's a really nice touch for something on the shelf. And that's them finished. I think it looks better with them than without again. I think it just brings the whole wheel alive. Anyway, it's done. So yeah, let's bang it on wheels on the car and fit the shell and see what the finished product looks like. Well, that certainly looks good on its own. Don't even need a shell. That's lovely. Those, you can see now before I put the shell on why those tyre decals, if you're doing shelf queens, you can see why that little bit of extra detail on the tyres is so worth it. Rubbish for running, as I said, but anyway, let's bang this shell on. And that's it. What do you think, guys? I'm at that stage because I've been on it for 2 days that I'm kind of not 100% sure about it. Looks good from that angle. I don't know if I'll keep that. As I say, I'm just sort of practicing. Front end looks decent. Spoiler looks okay as well with those decals on. I need to do the body posts as well. That doesn't look too bad, that roof. Back end looks okay. I'm terrible when I just do a car. That body post is not right. Yeah, it's not bad, is it? You won't kick it out of bed. It'll look well running as well. Tell you what it does need. Now obviously I'm not going to do this, but because it's got it's so open, because it's got so much open sort of windscreen space, that really needs a driver cockpit in there to fill that up. But anyway, nevertheless, it looks okay. And she's done. What do you think, guys? Stick in comments what you think, if you don't mind. I'm a little bit unsure right now, but this is what I do. As soon as I've sort of created or finished a shell, I'm always a little bit okay. I mean, bear in mind this is a runner, guys. This is not going on the shelf, and we've saved it. As I say, this was riddled in holes, so we've covered them up neatly. I also got to play with the pinstripe tape for the first time ever, which is a superb detailing tool. I know a lot of guys on Tamiya Legends Facebook group use it, and I've always just looked at pictures and like, that looks awesome, but I've never really tried it. But it's far easier to use than I thought. It's not difficult at all. The carbon wrap, that's quite an interesting thing. Again, first time I've ever used that. Whether I'll keep the little bits of carbon I've put on this, I'm not sure. I'm not too keen on this one on the front. I think the roof looks good, and this little back section, that looks really good. But again, now I've used it once, I've got sort of no fears about using it on another project in the future. And it's really cheap and it sticks well, although it is lifting a little bit in certain areas. But again, I don't know what I'm going to do with that. I'm also a little bit flat. We have on our Facebook group, we call it the Tamiya wall, and it's not like glass cabinet wall or Tamiya's. It's kind of when you can't be bothered with it. I know for a fact, if any of you guys watching who do a lot of projects and you do them quite regular, you do hit this wall where you just don't want to touch an RC car. I think everyone goes through it at some point. I kind of try to stay well in front with my content, which allows me to have a week off and sort of recharge and then get motivated for next time, and I'm right there now. Probably at the time you're watching this video, I'll be back at it and everything's, good again. But it's Friday today here. Obviously this video is not in real time, so I'm planning on having all next week off. I'll still post the videos on YouTube, but I'll just not pick up a screwdriver. Do you know what I might do? I've got a couple of cars ready to run. I might just forget about making silly videos and just go out and actually enjoy some RC. That sounds quite more relaxing than not doing anything. Anyway, I'm gibbering out. I do apologise, guys. So if you've made it to end, many thanks. As I say, stick in comments what you think, or if there's any improvements, anything you don't like, or anything you think I should change around or add on to it. I love to get your opinions, guys. Anyway, we'll end this video here. So once again, thanks for watching, it's much appreciated. If you are new to this channel, if you could please consider liking and subscribing to support us, and if you do that, smash that notification bell for our weekly videos. And as always guys, happy RCing.